friends, Kim from Stamping and Perfection. I'm here with a video for the Hedgehog Hollow subscription box, and this is the May subscription kit, and it's all about music. And I have two projects, two card projects to share and a bookmark. I love this kit. It is all about music, and as you see, there were two stamp sets, two stencils, and two sets of die cut ephemera that are foilable. So I'm going to do a couple of go-to layouts for myself here. I want to use the new Salvage Patina Distressed Oxide, and you can see I'm just opening it up. I have not yet used this, and I'm going to use a masking technique. I have that Post-it removable labeling tape, and I put that down so I just have a thin strip, and I'm just making sure it's straight here with my grid. I just wanted a thin strip of color because I want to use these are solid image stamps, and I'm going to stamp them in black on this gorgeous new color. This is just beautiful. And so I blend a little bit of that on. I get a really nice blend because that is a super inky ink pad. It's brand new. I'm going to just clean up my space with this Turtley awesome towel from Maker Forte. Love this little towel. I love that I can throw it in the washer when I need to. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull off 3 of the instruments on the larger of the 2 stamp sets. The sentiments in this set are just fabulous, absolutely fabulous. So I pull out 3 of the instruments to put in that colorful panel that I just inked up there. Now, the instruments are directional, so I didn't notice that I actually have my trumpet upside down, so if you're a perfectionist, you'll want to pay attention to that. I'm not a perfectionist, so it didn't bother me. I also pulled out, they had the sharp, the flat, and a rest musical symbol stamps, and I love it when you get little stamps like that to fill in spaces, which is exactly what I did with those. So I stamped these in the Maker Forte Color Hive Eclipse black ink. I love this ink. It's a great black ink. You can see how nicely it's stamped the first time. And so I'm just pulling these off, and now I'm going to pick a sentiment, and I have so much trouble because there are 2 stamp sets, and every single one of the sentiments on these stamp sets are just amazing. So I'm just inking this up again. This is Music Feeds the Soul. I think it's just a beautiful sentiment. And then I just want to add a little bling. So I'm going to pull out my favorite, these are my current favorite embellishments. These are the Crown Jewel gems, and this particular color is called Vegas Strip. And I've been putting them on every project, but I'm super stingy. I've been only putting 3. Now I'm having a little trouble with my glue because my glue has been in storage all winter, and I think it was a little cold in storage, so my glue is not working very well. So you'll see me struggling with the glue a little bit, and I apologize for that. I ordered myself some new glue yesterday, so hopefully that will be here in a day or 2. But I'm using the Maker Forte jewel picker. It's got the jewel picker tool on one end and the craft pick or paper piercer on the other end. I love this tool, and it's so pretty. It's such a pretty tool. And these are the hooked tweezers, and they're the perfect tweezers for handling little gems. So I'm just attaching that card front to a card base with double-sided adhesives. I decided it needed 2 more gems on there just to pull your eye across the card, so I'm adding those. And that will complete my project for now, because I love clean and simple cards. I love single layer cards, and that is exactly what this is. And I like this card. I just want to do a little something more with it. For my second card, I decided I wanted to stamp in white ink on black cardstock. So I pulled out my Hero Arts white dye ink, And I just, whenever I have a stamp set that's got a lot of images like this one, I like to make a background and just fill the background with all the images. So it's essentially making your own pattern paper. So I decided I would stamp this in white. And whenever I'm using white, I tend to always stamp it at least twice. And this is a nice juicy ink pad. Because I just opened it, so it's nice and juicy. So I stamped it twice, and I moved the paper over and started to pull the stamps off, and I decided, nope, I really want to add some kaleidoscope powder to this. So I cleaned off my stamps and I had pulled off one stamp set, so I put that back on, lined it up again, and moved the paper back to where I originally had it, and I inked it this time with my Color Hive embossing ink, and now I'm just using the little kaleidoscope powder and the brush tool that you use, and I used way too much powder here. This powder, notice, looks like white or cream colored in the jar, and I'm brushing off the excess powder over the garbage can, and I'm spritzing it with water. You can spritz it with water or hairspray. And notice that it has a green tint on black cardstock. I love this kaleidoscope powder. It's just so pretty. So I'm just going to fill in the rest of that background. And I added 3 instruments and the flat musical symbol there. And again, I'm just going to stamp it twice in the white, and then I will stamp it once with the clear Color Hive ink, and then add the kaleidoscope powder to the top of this. I just love this pretty green, and it's got such a pretty sparkly sheen to it when you hold it, when you move it around in the light. It's just the prettiest touch to add to a card. And I forgot to do the little flat symbol, so I used the leftover powder that was on my craft mat, and that was all I needed. So I need to have a gentler hand when I'm picking up that powder with the brush. So still a work in progress there. So I cleaned everything up, and then I trimmed this down to 4 by 5 1/4, and I started pulling out some different colors to see what color panel I wanted to put below. I thought red might be nice, but then as I was looking through my stash of specialty cardstocks, I realized I had this really pretty green panel that seemed like it was made for that kaleidoscope powder on black, like really beautiful. And it's got a little bit of a texture to it, and then an iridescent sheen, so it's perfect. And I put some double-sided adhesive tape down, since my glue isn't working that well today. It's still cold in my basement, so I think that's not helping. And put that down, and I want to put a sentiment on this, but I'm going to stamp my sentiment on a piece of vellum. So I pulled out some vellum and I cut it down. So I had a piece that was about 5 1/2 by 2 1/2. And I'm wishing that I'd made it like 6 by 2 1/2, just so I had a little bit more on the edges to fold over the card front there. So I'm just going to stamp this onto that vellum in that remarkable black Eclipse black Color Hive ink. And I let it dry a little because it is a dye-based ink, so it takes a little bit longer to dry. And in order to do this without like getting glue everywhere and having glue only on the back, I needed to score the edges. So I pulled out my Scor-Pel and I used the bottom of a paintbrush because my nice Maker Forte bone folder is upstairs. So you can see I'm using the double-sided adhesive tape just to fold it over and then to stick it on that card panel. And I love the way that looks. And I pulled out some very old clear gems and added those on there to kind of complete that card. So now I want to make a bookmark, so I'm just like trimming off the corners, and I use the one corner as a template for the second corner, so they're both the same. That's my We Are Memory Keeper hole punch, and I'm using this like scale, I believe it's called a stave actually, and giving it a rainbow twist. I stamped it in the middle with yellow, on the top with red, and on the bottom with blue, and I ended up with some nice orange and green, but I covered too much of my yellow. I used a dark purple for the sentiment that I used at the top, and then I'm just going to add a yellow ribbon because I wanted to add a little more yellow since I covered up too much of my yellow. And I also decided that I would take my yellow ink pad, this is maple yellow by the way, and just drag it across the edges just to brighten up the edges and make it look like it had a little border. And I always think this is a pretty touch because it just brightens up the edge of your project. So little things like that make such a difference. So that's going to complete that. I actually made 2 bookmarks, but the first one I just didn't quite lay things out the way I wanted to with my hole punch. So I let those sit overnight because I felt like they were missing something. When I came back down this morning, I decided I want to add a foiled touch. The kit came with these 2 ephemera packs, and I definitely want to add it. Like I can create them, and if I don't like the way they look, I don't have to attach them. And I just love that green paper. So the foil packs, one has a detailed image, the other package has like the background image or a solid image. And I've got these new foils from Maker Forte in the silver and the gold. So I decided that I want to use both the silver and the gold. So I'll do some in silver and some in gold. And I fussed around and pulled out some, different instruments that I wanted to use, and I'm going to add them to these pieces. I just felt like they were missing something, or that they weren't special enough. They just felt ordinary. So I pull out my old laminator, and you can see I have the detailed piece and then the solid piece for each one of these. And I'm going to go ahead and start with the trumpet. And I'm going to trim down the foil. And I decided that the trumpet would go on this piece with the pretty Neptune kaleidoscope powder, and I cut down just a slim piece of the gold and the silver, and I decided I wanted this to be silver because that kaleidoscope powder feels like it has a silver tone to me, so that's why I'm going to use the silver on this. So I'm putting the black side, the inked side of that trumpet against the back side of the foil. The shiny side of the foil goes up, and then you just peel it off, and isn't that pretty? Like, that looks so nice. I love this card much better now. Now I'm going to take that leftover piece of foil, I'm going to take that solid die cut and line up the foil and foil that back piece, because these were created to do just this so that you get more out of your foil, so that leftover foil doesn't get wasted. Now you've got lots of detail there, and I decided I love that piece so much with the black showing through that I'm going to use that. So that's the gold one that I'm showing you there. So I attached all of those to my projects, and I really loved the way that background foil with the gold, the black showing through looked on the projects. So that's the one I picked to do most of them, and I added them all with foam, and you can see all of the projects here. So there's the silver and the gold. Love it. So I'm going to link everything below, and if you I would love it if you would give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel while you're here. Thank you so much for watching, friends. Have a great day.